The best real estate investing strategy right now is ADUs in California and Washington State because the regulations allow for a different type of property or different type of parcel than any other state. Residential assisted living, I think, is going to be the next big boom. All the boomers are going to need places to live. They haven't even all retired yet, but they're starting to need assisted living. They're starting to age out. You have a few options. You either have retirement homes, which are extremely cost prohibitive, but now you can go buy a house that is zoned for residential assisted living, and many homes already are in a lot of states and a lot of cities, and I'm sure that there will be more support moving forward to do this. There's permits and there's all that stuff. So
there's also the business side of it, so you really have to be up for that part of it, the business side and the regulations around that. There's complexities to it. It's a different business. So if you're somebody and you're thinking, hey, I'm in California and the cost, the barrier to entry is just really high, so I want to look in other states. How did you actually do the research to figure out in these states that you don't even live in that you could cash flow, that you could purchase a property, feel comfortable doing that?
In life, there's a blueprint for everything. There's no need to start over. Hear from industry leaders, those at the top of their fitness journey, and real estate gurus. They tell you exactly how they did it. All you have to do is listen, learn, and execute. This is The Blueprint with Brad Rice.
All right, guys, we're back to another edition of The Blueprint. And today I've got a special guest that drove in. I'm super excited to talk to him. Today I've got Kassidy Warren. And Cassidy and I met through a group that we're in, actually, that's teaching us all about, building a following and getting a podcast started and social media and all of that. And it's actually was the reason that I started this podcast to begin with. So we've got a lot in common here that we're going to talk about. But Cassidy is a boutique hotel investor and a short-term rental investor. He turned a $35 a night bedroom that he rented out into now having a $13 million portfolio of real estate. So that's really cool. We're going to talk about that. He walked away from, and this will resonate with a lot of you, a 12-year career in engineering. So went from engineering to entrepreneur in real estate. And he took he cashed out his 401k. He lived in a van for a while, really did whatever it took to be intentional about his life and making changes. So I know that you could all benefit from hearing a story like this if you find yourself in a similar position. He also hosts his podcast that's really kicking ass. And we're going to talk about how he's got it set up. It's pretty unique, but it's called For Your Own Good. And he's had some really great guests on there so far, but it's about wealth, mindset, success, and all of that. Cassidy's been making really big moves recently, also on his health. So we're going to talk a bit about that as well. So, hey, man, thanks for coming up and joining me and spending some time with me.
Brad, I need you to walk around next to me everywhere I go. That was a great intro. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're a natural, dude.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It comes with reps. We know that, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we're on like our 45th or so. Yeah, something like that now.
Congrats, dude.
So, yeah.
I mean, whenever I was asked, I was like, hey, who's got podcasts in the LA area? It's like, hey, go to Brad. And you're one of the reasons I came down for this trip. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm super glad you did.
Yeah.
We're going to have fun today.
Yeah.
So look, man, I think the first thing I'd like to talk about is just, this idea of renting a room for $35 a night. First of all, what room do you rent for $35 a night? Was this in 1972? Like, that's like cheap. But, how that actually started, was that the bug? Was that kind of the thing that got you started in wanting to get into real estate?
100%. So my real estate journey started buying our house, actually. So that's what it was. It was a spare bedroom in our condo. And we looked at real estate at that time as an investment in your home, which now if you've learned and done some research, you know that your house is not necessarily an investment, right? So, but we turned it into one. It was house hacking. But we didn't know that term back then.
Yeah.
And usually house hacking was you get a bunch of roommates and they live there full time, but my wife and I didn't really want that, right?
Yep.
And so
yeah, you're kind of beyond that phase.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even this is back in 2015, so it was younger. We were willing to put in like a lot of the dirty work at the time. But yeah, we put the room up on Airbnb for $35 a night. I have some of the original photos. I can't believe people wanted to rent it back then.
Like, were you getting renters regularly?
Yeah, so we live in Kirkland, Washington.
Okay.
We are a couple blocks from Google.
Costco.
Yeah, exactly. Amazon, all the tech companies were coming up.
That makes sense.
And actually, we bought that condo because we saw Google was adding another building up the street, and I saw what had happened in the Bay Area, and I was like, prices are going to go crazy up in Seattle. And since then, Google has now like basically taken over the city. So housing prices have skyrocketed, like, which has been really good for us. But yeah, we started by doing some paint, basic furnishing, like learning the ropes on Airbnb. And our main goal was just to rent it basically our main goal was just to get half of our mortgage. That was like really the goal. And so, yeah, there were some nights that were, $100 a night, summer weekends, but $35 a night was not uncommon. And we even had one bathroom at the time.
Oh, wow.
So we were coordinating with the guest to use the shower like in our own home, right?
So weird.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how our families felt.
That is
so
awkward.
Yes, but when you're starting out, you will do whatever it takes to figure it out and to make some money, right?
There's a lesson in that for sure. I mean, you literally did whatever it took to, and just that learning process, learning Airbnb, learning the platform. But let's kind of take it a step before that. First of all, was that your first piece of real estate you owned?
100%.
Okay.
And that was our condo. It was where we lived.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were in engineering. You had a job, full-time job.
Yes.
And you used that job, the income from that job, along with your wife,
Yep.
I'm assuming, to buy this condo.
Yeah, and we did 5% down.
Was it conventional loan?
Conventional, yeah, and I didn't know that we could do just 5% down.
Okay.
We bought this place sort of on a whim because we knew we wanted to buy. We looked at it, we loved it. We had just a little bit of money in the bank. And we went and found a lender that was like, yeah, it's your primary. You only need 5% down.
Yeah.
We were thinking like 3.5% VHA or FHA. And then I heard about the inspection stuff and all that. And the lender was like, you probably wouldn't pass on this one anyways, but all you need is 5%. I didn't know that there were all these different loan products out there.
Yeah.
I never bought real estate in my life. We were so fortunate with that lender that he walked us through like everything. We didn't really have to do much. We didn't know the terminology at the time. And now, like fast forwarding, I won't go into everything, but fast forwarding, it's like, you don't care. You've signed the papers. Is title okay? Are we going to close? Like, that's right. But during that time, it was so foreign to us. And so then the bedroom was more like a cash flow play for us. Yeah.
Understood.
Mm-hmm.
So you were like 28 at the time when you bought the condo?
That sounds about right.
Okay.
I was when we bought it, I was probably 25 or 26.
Okay, 25, 26.
Yeah.
And so people don't know this, right? And that's why I talk about all the time. The best thing to do if you want to buy your first home is to talk to a mortgage broker. But I specifically say a mortgage broker because they're independent. They're commission only. That's a key to this, right? Because they're very driven to get you whatever you need to get. Like if you go to a bank or you go to a credit union, you may not get somebody that's so motivated. They're checking boxes, and it's like if they close your loan, they're lucky to get $50. But if you have somebody who's independent, they're commission only, they're going to figure it out with you. And so even if it's a plan, if you don't qualify for today, they're going to help you so that maybe in 7 or 8 months, they help design that, and you get into a position where you can buy your first place. So it sounds like that's what you did. You didn't really know much about it, but you knew you wanted to buy something.
Yeah, and we were really fortunate that they did exactly that, because later we learned too that not all lenders are the same, not all banks are the same, and actually you're probably going to get more no's than yeses on most stuff.
Yeah.
If you're a high income earning W-2 just looking to buy your primary, you're set. Like you don't need to worry about anything really, but if you're an investor or you have weird income or you're doing other stuff, you're going to get 100 no's before you get a yes.
That's right.
And when it's commission based, they're working for you, and generally they're going to want to find you the best product. So
that's right. Now, did you buy any other property before you quit your job?
No. So this is a great question. So quit the job because we were burned out, like completely and utterly burned out. That's when we moved into the van. But what I did do, I was smart. I was like, okay, I think if I quit, we're not going to be able to get any lending or anything. Right. So we went and got a HELOC before we quit because we had a bunch of equity in the condo. we rented that out full time while we went in the van and we quit our jobs. And it was like a $200,000 HELOC at the time.
Smart.
Yeah. And that was back when you could show up, get a HELOC like that day.
Yeah.
Like they didn't even go do an appraisal.
Based on your credit.
Based on your credit, exactly.
Yep.
So it was a good time to go do that. So that was a super smart move.
Very smart.
And you know that if you quit your job, it's a lot harder to get regular lending.
It's a lot more difficult. And that's why I asked the question, because if somebody is thinking about doing something similar path where like, hey, maybe they did buy their first place or they haven't yet, and they could qualify for a loan based on their income today, maybe just wait just a little bit. Use that as leverage to get you the best financing possible, because when you go from having an employment, being an employee, to being self-employed, it's essentially a 2-year wait. Unless you've got a very large down payment, you can do some other types of programs that we have. It's a 2-year wait to document that income and then qualify based on the income that you're generating as self-employed.
Yeah, and I don't know how I got so lucky, but so basically we did just that though. So we quit, got the HELOC before we quit, went back to work as self-employed contractors under an S corp, and then within 4 months bought our first investment property. First one was as a second home loan.
Okay. But
that one and each one, I had to go find the lenders that would work with me, because they said the 2-year rule. Everyone was like 2-year rule, but I found lenders where I was like, hey, look, I'm basically doing the same job.
Yeah.
It's with my old employer. I was basically contracting to my old employer. I had invoices. My books were in order. Like I had QuickBooks. It wasn't in a personal bank account. Everything was on the up and up. I filed as an S corp. I was filed with the state. I had a business bank account.
You have a contract with them?
Yes, I had a contract and a master services agreement.
Yep.
So there's things that you can do. It's not impossible. There's things that you can do where you look very legitimate and you are legitimate. It's like a resume to a lender. If you can show them that you are the real deal and you pay all your stuff on time and it's similar work. So I had to write a bunch of letters of explanation, LOEs.
Yep.
I wrote a lot of LOEs, but if that's all that it takes is writing some LOEs and making sure that your paperwork is in alignment with your business, then go do that, right?
Yeah.
Don't put contract income into a personal bank account, right? Don't do these stupid things that are going to prevent a lender from wanting to work with you.
That's right. And a lot of that, like, it sounds like you intuitively knew this stuff, but a lot of that you can just learn from going through the process. Again, if you're really thinking about getting into real estate, and part of real estate is leverage, right? There's a couple different ways you can do this. You can do creative financing, trying to find sellers that'll do the seller financing and, things of that nature, or you're selling the contract, or but if you're looking to actually acquire property and own property, whether it's short-term or long-term, you're either going to need financing or you need money from individuals, like syndication.
Yep.
Those are really the only two ways. And so put yourself in a position where you can leverage that as quickly as possible and get those properties early on, as opposed to having to wait that 2-year mark or longer because you don't do it right. So that was really smart.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought up the leverage piece. And you talked about staying at your W-2 a little bit longer. So this is something that I tell people all the time. People with a regular job, this is what you should do. Stay at your job as long as you possibly can and leverage your income to go buy real estate as much as you can for as long as you can. A lot of people say they want to quit their job, and I ask them why. And it's like they want freedom. And I'm just like, okay, if you can wait 3 to 5 years, and if you want to build your wealth, and you don't need the cash flow, here's what you do. You take all of your active income from your regular job and you go buy as many short-term rentals or other real estate assets that you can depreciate and cost segregate, save on taxes, and just stack your portfolio over and over and over again. And that's essentially what we did. So we were buying 2 properties a year as short-term rentals. We were taking all this depreciation and we were paying 0 in taxes, and we were cash flowing. But leverage and forced appreciation, leverage and appreciation. That's how you build wealth. If you have a W-2 job and you're making decent money and you can cut back a little bit to go invest in more properties and you don't need a ton of cash flow, go buy properties in the highest appreciating markets that you can. Put a little bit of work into them, run them as short-term rentals for a few years, get the tax benefits, and you will see your portfolio, your net worth will like skyrocket.
That's great advice. It really is.
Yeah.
So your second property and then properties after that, were these single family?
All single family. Yeah. First one was in Cleveland, and then we have some in Arizona and Washington State.
So, okay, were these areas that you knew?
Cleveland, no. We did a lot of research on, basically we wanted to find the highest gross income to lowest purchase price in a decent market.
So you're talking about rental income versus the cost of the property.
Exactly.
Okay.
So at the time, I think the projections in Cleveland were we could get around 60 to 70K gross for like a $270,000 purchase price. And that's exactly what we did.
Okay.
So
That's really good.
yeah. And so we didn't know anything about DSCR loans or raising money.
How did you do that research though? Specifically, like if you're somebody and you're thinking, hey, I'm in California and the barrier to entry is just really high. So I want to look in other states. Like, you can look in parts of Tennessee where you can buy a home for $250,000. Really nice homes in nice areas. But, that's the cost of property there. But how do you get to that point? How did you actually do the research to figure out in these states that you don't even live in that you could cash flow, that you could purchase a property and feel comfortable doing that?
Yeah. I think a lot of it had to do with our experience on our condo. So we had done a lot of renovations. We had managed the Airbnb. We had done that. So we had a level of baseline confidence in our ability to just run this thing, right? We had stayed in a lot of properties. We had stayed in a lot of Airbnbs. We had traveled the world. We had stayed in a lot of hotels. My wife's a great designer. We had a baseline level of confidence that we could create something. So that's just kind of the baseline stuff of our confidence in our own talents, right? Because that's a huge part of it is you just have to be confident that you can go execute on a vision, right? Then you have to know what you're solving for. Are you solving for cash flow or are you solving for appreciation, right? At the time, we were solving for cash flow. We thought cash flow was the way out. But we also knew with our skills that we can come in and do value add. So we wanted to look in areas where we could buy something that we could afford, right? You got to start somewhere. And then we knew that we were going to add some value, so we were going to force appreciation. So we had to understand what the comps in the neighborhood were. So this is a key. This is like real estate fundamentals. Buy low, sell high. Yeah. But how do you buy low, and then how do you sell high? You buy something that's in the best neighborhood or one of the best neighborhoods that is undervalued, underpriced, and needs a little bit of work. And then you do that little bit of work, and now you're up at a higher price point, and you're cash flowing. So the research part back then, because I think it was like 2018, 2019 when we bought our first property. Okay. AirDNA was out. They had the free rentalizer thing. I think I paid for the Cleveland market like a couple grand or something. Now there's a ton of stuff. B&BCalc.com.
Are these tools that are on Airbnb?
No, these are third-party tools now.
Okay.
So AirDNA and B&BCalc. I really recommend B&BCalc actually, and he's a buddy. His name's Jeremy. He owns it. He runs it. It's basically a cheap, very high-quality way of running Airbnb-specific deal analysis.
Okay, where you plug the numbers in and then it okay.
Yeah, and so it'll run all the numbers for you too. You can adjust them. So it's like a calculator. It's a market research tool. And it'll show you all the properties and what they're making. Now, you don't quite know. And so at the time, what I was realizing is that I was seeing where the revenue would fluctuate based on the zip code. It was sort of a revenue comp. It was telling me where the best neighborhoods were before I had gone there. We were looking at Cleveland. We were looking at at the time, like Gatlinburg was really popping off, which now a lot of people that invested back then, the home prices are underwater, right? Mm-hmm. Because there was such a boom. So I'm thankful. But again, real estate fundamentals. I was also solving for, you're taking me back to this first deal. I was also solving for, this is my personality, what is plan B and C? What is our exit strategy?
Sure.
So our exit strategy is sell it. That's always kind of the exit strategy, but it's also, can we long-term rent it?
Yeah. So
with this first property, even if we didn't make the Airbnb income that we thought, we did the improvements to increase the value. So we could sell it and, after fees, maybe break even or make a little bit. Or the long-term rental income was going to work out too. So the mortgage was like $1,000 and rent would be $1,500. So we had other exit strategies. So that helped me feel better than just going into some random market that we didn't know, like Cleveland, buying a big ass house and thinking that it was going to cash flow just because we felt like it was going to do that.
Yeah. So let's talk about the short-term rental, because I think that's the right analysis, by the way. If you've got a property you're looking at for a short-term rental, an Airbnb, as a backup plan, it's long-term. If that cash flows as well, then you're pretty safe. Like, you can always do a long-term rental. The short-term rental market's like, if you have never done it before, it's a little scary. Do you hire somebody to manage that for you? Because there are a lot of companies now that charge like 20%, right?
It's a lot.
And they'll do everything so that you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to, be calling people about a toilet in the middle of the night, things of that nature, right? Or how do you learn it? Like, how do you? I assume that you guys did the management yourself. How do you get to that point? You of course you had the bedroom in your house, but you're already there, so that's not really the same thing as having a rental property in another state. So how'd you put your arms around that?
We learned a lot of the fundamentals by doing it ourselves. So, and we were in the app, guest messaging. I'm good with technology, so I had found some of the automation tools, the calendar tools. So I had some of that. The remote management was definitely the learning curve and finding the right people. We got really lucky, but it was all just through word of mouth. If you're doing short-term rentals, you either have to pay someone, and there's only like 2 or 3 people in the whole industry that I would say like pay them to just do everything. There's not many people that can do everything for you and make you money and have good staff and manage it and all that, right? And. There's only a couple people that can do that. So if you're going to do a short-term rental, my advice is like actually go to the market and spend at least a weekend, if not like 3 or 4 or 5 days. So you can find the property, learn the neighborhoods, meet the realtors, find contractors, find housekeepers, like pack your days full of talking to people and learning the area and meeting the people and finding the best people in the area that you possibly can. And then you also learn the neighborhood and everything. Like, you're not just a foreign investor that doesn't know anything about it and the house is turning into a piece of crap, because it's literally just an investment. You don't care about it, because with short-term rentals, you need to care about it.
Yeah.
Or your management needs to care about it. And if you're going and interviewing management companies, everyone will charge 20 to 25%. It's crazy, but there are some that are worth it. If you're going and talking to management companies for short-term rentals, you need to ask them about their revenue management strategy. You need to ask them about how they get more bookings at a higher ADR than the rest of their competitors. You need to ask them how they hire staff. How do they handle emergencies? How do they make their properties more money than the rest of the properties in the market? Don't just assume that everybody knows what they're doing. In these types of businesses where basically all you need is a computer to start, you can get everybody and anybody that wants to do it. So go look at the other properties that they manage, look at the reviews, see if they're property related or if they're management related, right? And then you can also ask them like about their worst client, or like how do they handle bad reviews? Like, how do they handle working with Airbnb? There's lots of things that will, if they can't answer them, if they don't have a good answer, or your gut isn't telling you that it's right, then it's usually not right, especially with property management companies.
Yeah. That reminds me, because I saw a video you posted, and this is something that people don't talk about. What was your biggest nightmare in an Airbnb rental?
Well, there's a couple. One that I experienced, or running the property.
I think one that you experienced. You mentioned that you were watching on camera them cleaning out.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Property.
Yeah. So, and this was on booking.com. So they booked through booking.com. And something happened where the setting on booking.com was accept cash at property to pay for it. I didn't notice this until after everything had happened.
Okay.
The housekeeper we don't hear from them, or there's like stuff going on. The housekeeper shows up and was like, the guest is still here and he has a gun. And so we're freaking out, obviously. And so we get on the cameras and we see this guy, obviously still like drunk or high or something. And you can see the gun in his back pocket while he's out back. Car is pulled up to the back door, trunk open, and he's just loading stuff in. He's just loading stuff in, and we're just watching it happen. No one's responding. We've texted. We called the cops. The cops aren't showing up, right? And he ended up getting away with like linens and cleaning supplies, no furniture, no, anything like that. Our housekeepers go in The pool is black. The hot tub is black and full of suds, like completely sudded over. There was an old security system. The wires were pulled out. There was blood all over the walls. There was a crack pipe that was found. And so what had happened was the niece or daughter or someone of this guy rented this for him for a few days because Booking.com had this setting messed up. They didn't have to pay. We lost out on all the revenue. This guy showed up, invited a bunch of people over. They had a crack party. They pulled wires out of the wall. They washed their crack pipe in the pool with Dawn soap. And that's why the pool was black. And then the same thing with the hot tub.
Wow.
That's why there was the suds, because they were running through the jets and it was all black. And there was literally nothing we could do. We couldn't get a hold of anybody at Booking.com. So we lost, it was like a $1,500 reservation that we lost. Then we had to like spend another $1,000 at least getting everything like overtime for extra people. The housekeeper's son showed up. We had maintenance people. We had our pool guy. They got the house ready only an hour after the normal check-in that day.
Wow.
And so the guests that day showed up and we're just like, what are they going to find? Yeah. What are they going to find? You know, because you don't know what's in a drawer. There's another crack pipe somewhere. There's a needle. We don't know.
Right.
And that guest messaged us all of the pictures from her vacation and said, my family had the best time at your house.
Wow, your cleaners did a great job.
That I was so proud of our team that day.
Yeah.
And if you're an entrepreneur, business owner, you know what it means to have people show up and go the extra mile or not show up like in those moments. And that was like such a grateful moment. To be going through that with
I don't think enough people really talk about those nightmares of, you know, we see them sometimes on TikTok where, you know, you got the cameras and you're seeing what they're doing to the houses and stuff. But I think it happens more than people talk about.
Our first booking ever in Cleveland was a stripper party. And we watched the whole thing on the cameras.
I'm sure, of course you did.
And it's 3 a.m. We don't know if who's there is who's on the account.
Right. How do you know?
We don't really know. We're staying at a friend's house. We're in Seattle. We're staying at a friend's house. They already think we're crazy because we bought this Cleveland house. And now,
oh my God,
here's the validation.
Yeah.
First booking is like this stripper party. So no one showed up at normal check-in, right? And then it's like midnight. And we're getting all these camera notifications and we're seeing them smoking blunts on the porch, bringing in kegs, the speakers, the stripper stuff going on. And we're literally just watching this across the country. We spent so much money and so much time on this property. And the very first booking, we're like, the house is going to burn down. Everything's over, right? Like we're not going to make it. How are we supposed to move on from this? And then
it wound up being okay.
It was okay.
Huh.
That's the great thing about the short-term rental stuff. Usually, it all passes.
Right.
Right? There's some crazy thing that you're like, this is never going to end. And then they check out, you deal with whatever, and you forget about it.
So on the one that was the crack pipes and the black pool, did you have insurance that helped cover any of that?
We've never filed an insurance claim. There was no real damage.
Okay.
There was no real
cleanup.
Yeah. So yeah, we had to pay, I would say like an extra $2,000 out of pocket for supplies and new linens and all that stuff. Sure. But when our deductible is $500, dealing with the insurance, it's like it's not really that worth it.
Yeah, not for that.
You kind of just that's the other thing is I remember that moment. There's a few moments that I remember because you think you have this protection in insurance and Airbnb's insurance and all that, and then nothing happened. You don't get paid out or something happened. And I sit there and I think, oh yeah. I thought about all the businesses during the riots that were going on at the time and windows smashed out.
Sure.
And I'm like, they probably didn't file claims either, or they probably didn't get paid out either. And this is literally just part of doing business.
Yeah.
Like you think you're protected, but you're really not. Yep. And that's your ability as an entrepreneur to just keep moving.
That's the thing that really stinks about insurance. They do make it very difficult to even want to file a claim unless it's really large. Because you're especially for homeowners, especially in California even, like you file a claim for something small and that you rightfully should be able to because it's in your policy. Not only do you stand the chance of them doubling your premium, but if they cancel you, you're toast. Now you've got the California Fair Plan. Like that's it. Then you're toast. Then you can't get it. So you really got it. It's unfortunate. I think that's a broken industry. It needs fixing, and it's just getting worse and worse.
I'm just fortunate that we haven't really had to file
lucky.
a claim. Yeah, I've heard all the stories in California. I can't even imagine.
All right, so let's change gears for a minute. So, are you 39 now?
This month.
This month.
Yep.
All right. What's your birthday?
July 30th.
All right, coming up.
I'm a
I've got
Leo.
one coming up in August.
August. Are you
Yeah.
a Leo also?
I am.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
A couple of podcast hosts.
That's right. There you go. Common denominator.
Yep.
So, but you recently went through what you call kind of a death and rebirth. Explain what that is.
Well, the past 2.5 years have really been just a complete transformation for me. After buying all these properties and doing it on my own, it was my wife and I.
Yep.
And spending so much money and dealing with contractors and not really getting much help in the way of coaching or, and COVID really isolated me too, right? Just went heads down deep into real estate during COVID and post-COVID, just like everybody else, right? And I hit this upper limit. I'm a smart guy. I've been able to accomplish a lot of things in my life, but there was just something that was like, what is going on? I'm stuck. I'm frustrated. Relationships are hard. The universe seems to be screaming at me to say bro, you need to chill out, go figure something out because this is not working anymore.
Okay.
My health was failing.
In what way?
Well, I'd given up drinking, and I thought that was one of the reasons. Were
you a heavy drinker?
Yeah, I was drinking way too much.
Like
I was bottle of
every
wine.
day?
Yeah, bottle of wine a night, more on the weekends. It culminated in and I'll get back to this other, but I like telling the story, or I'm starting to tell the story now. My drinking culminated in a night in Denver that it was when I was working for corporate, and they had sent me out there because at the time I was training, cool, I'm learning. It was because I wasn't doing my job. Right. And so they sent me out there to get some certificate and get better at my job because things were just not going as well as I thought they were. And I wasn't performing the way that I used to. And I did what I always did on these work trips. I went out, I ate a lot, I drank a lot. Denver, there's a lot of IPAs, great craft brew scene, right? Woke up still drunk, shoveled a bunch of food into my face to make it on time for this training. And then the room just started to spin. And at the time, that was happening a lot more. I was going through these vertigo episodes, and I'm 30 years old, basically. So the only thing that I could do was leave the room and go back to my hotel and basically sit in the bathroom for the whole day. I just in a quiet space, and that was the only thing that would stop things from spinning. And again, I'm 30 years old. This shouldn't be happening.
Right.
Deep in my heart, I knew it was the drinking.
Yeah.
Right. I had gone to the doctor. They're like, oh, it's this. Eat less
You
salt.
didn't tell them how much you were drinking.
No.
Yeah.
No, I never did.
Yep.
I never did. And I didn't think it necessarily mattered. So they give me the certificate begrudgingly. He's rolling his eyes as he hands me the certificate. And then on the flight home, this was something I always did. I always had the beer or the wine. It was something that when I turned 21, it was awesome. When I fly, I get a drink.
Yeah.
It was a staple in my life.
Yeah.
Which is, crazy to say. But on the flight home, I ordered sparkling water. And at that time, planes didn't really have sparkling water. It was not very popular like it is now. And the fact that they had it, I think, was really fortunate for me. And I took a picture of that because I knew that decision that I just made right there, that I was going to be able to quit drinking. And sure enough, over 7 years later, my wife quit drinking as well, and that's been a huge factor in our relationship. And so that was the start. And I thought all my problems were going to be solved. And then I hit this upper limit again. And my health, I was not really working out. I was doing HIIT classes, the cardio, but my body wasn't really changing. I was still having a little bit of the vertigo episodes, super low energy. And I found out that I had this kind of blood thing going on, but there was just, my gut was having issues. Nothing was really working.
Okay.
Nothing was really working. And I just was frustrated every single day, over and over again. I wasn't finding too much joy in my life, all that. So I started therapy. That was kind of the main thing. And that put me on a search for self-improvement and finding joy in my life. The thing that really changed things in my therapy was focusing on myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to just ask about the therapy thing, because I think a lot of people maybe could benefit from therapy, but there's a stigma to that. Like, you're going to go talk to somebody about your problems, and 9 times out of 10 they have more problems than you have, and but it helps a lot of people. And so just getting to that point and making that decision to go talk to somebody, like, that was a big deal.
My advice for someone selling their home: number 1, do it yourself and save. Number 2, use HomePie.
HomePie makes it easy to buy or sell without an agent. I can list a home in minutes and start receiving offers right away from buyers.
When we discovered that we didn't have to lose $40,000 in agent commission just to upsize to a larger home, it was an obvious choice.
List your home for free at homepie.com. Keep your piece of the pie.
Therapy changed my life.
Okay.
And the thing that allowed it to change my life is that I gave in to the process.
And you were being honest with yourself.
100%. I was being honest with myself. And yeah, there's times where I was like, how do they know?
Right.
But what I did do is I interviewed therapists. I interviewed 10 therapists, and I had a process. And the one that I found, who I'm still working with today, she's incredible, and she's probably listening. She was absolutely the fit for me. Okay. She challenges me in the right way. She's in the same wavelength, same vibe, like counter to my, high performance. She helps a lot of high performing entrepreneur types. Sure. But she also has that, she understands. Yep. She wants to be high performing, but she also knows what it means to take care of yourself. So if you are looking for a therapist, interview. Don't just go, don't go to the online ones and just accept who they give you. Go interview, go spend the money, invest in yourself. But the biggest thing that helped me was I just gave into the process, and I was honest with myself, and we do a lot of things that are so weird, or what you would consider weird, but they have absolutely transformed who I am and how I deal with myself. And one of the biggest things, honestly, for 6 months, she was like, only do things that bring you joy. Only do things that bring you joy. Mm-hmm. And it took me 6 months to realize she really means don't do anything else. Yeah. Other than things that bring you joy. She literally means stop doing things that suck. Okay. And so what that did was I started to think and feel as I'm going through the day, as I'm going through life, what do I enjoy? What do I not enjoy? And I became so in tune with my body and my emotions to be able to discern, all right, I do not want any more of this.
It created awareness.
It created a ton of awareness. Yep. It created a ton of awareness. And so then I hired a bunch of coaches, Dan Martell, Rich Summers, that whole thing. But then the rebirth really came from the fitness and specifically lifting weights. Yep. And I hired a coach and a nutritionist. And the reason it's a rebirth is because I realized through the process of lifting weights, going through a calorie deficit, getting down to a 7% body fat, sticking to the food, I realized that I had always been able to get by with doing 80%. Mm-hmm. I had always been able to do just enough to be just a little more successful than the person next to me. When you go and you start lifting weights and you set a goal to hit a certain physical composition, or maybe you're doing a marathon or whatever. And actually, I think really it's if you can physically change your body and try to get to a certain body fat or lift a certain way or whatever it is. Yeah. It is literally just you against you.
That's right.
And it's you making commitments to yourself, and only you know what you're eating, what you're doing, and how it's impacting your ability to actually achieve your goal. Yeah. And the mental mindset that did to me of confronting myself every day over and over, coupled with the physical piece of it, to get down to 7%. Yeah. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, especially in your adult life.
Super disciplined.
Especially in your adult life. Yeah. I want everybody, and I honestly believe that everybody's an athlete in some way, even the woo-woo yoga instructor or the person that's never lifted a weight in their life or whatever. I think we are physical beings, and we all need to lift weights or be physical in some way, but we have this protection mechanism that keeps us comfortable. And if we start doing things that are hard, then we're not comfortable anymore. But what it does to your mind and your ability to achieve and get through hard things, at the end of it, and I still feel this way, it's like mask off. This is who I am. I can achieve anything. This was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do.
That's a big transition to get down. What was your body fat prior?
I think I started at 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Which is probably pretty average, honestly, for the average adult male. That's, that looks like they're in decent shape. That's not, obese. That's about what they are.
Yeah. I thought, looking back at pictures, I'm like, man, I was delusional about where I was. I was really delusional about how out of shape I was. And I think, like you said, I was probably average. I think there's so many people that think that they are in shape and they go to the gym and maybe they do 6 reps of some heavy bench once a week or whatever, and they think they're doing it. This program that I was on, having to do 15 to 18 reps of all this other stuff and stick to the rest periods and do the cardio,
very disciplined.
Yes, it's tough. It is mentally
And so you hadn't lifted weights before that?
But I had, and then I got kind of burned out on it. I was an athlete in high school. Did football. I also did swimming, which is a weird combination. But I absolutely loved playing sports, and I forgot how much I loved it. I forgot how much I loved lifting weights.
Yeah.
I rediscovered it. But I took a big break, and I was doing these Orange Theory classes, and I thought I was really doing something.
Yeah.
And my wife and I sort of looked at each other. We're like, well, do our bodies really look any different? I'm like, oh my God, you're right. They don't. They don't.
Yeah. Look, lifting weights is really a fountain of youth. But not only that, your skeleton needs it. And as we get older, that is the number one reason that old people break something. Is they get old, they start to get frail, they trip, they fall in some way, and they don't have the muscle to keep their skeleton together. They break a hip, they break an arm, they break something, and it's like the beginning of the end for them. It is the number one reason that that elderly, fail, is they have a fall, and then that's it. That's the end of it. But if you look now, way more than it's ever been in documented history. I mean, I guess it probably, you go back to the caveman days. They didn't live as long as we're living, but they stayed in shape because they had to. They're running from dinosaurs and all that. But yeah, I mean, today, I would say Gen X especially is staying in shape longer, understands the value of lifting weights. It's become part of the culture again, like it was in the 80s. And it's creating longevity. And now you combine that with the science behind it. So as we get older, as males get older and they lose their testosterone and other things like that, and they really, if you open your mind to these things and you think about if you could get an exact replica of what your body produced when it was younger, and you can keep feeding yourself that longer in your life, why would you not do that? And so there's this stigma around steroids and that sort of thing. But the reality is that the testosterone replacement therapy at the levels, this isn't like injecting tons of steroids in your body. They keep your body producing and getting the benefits of the work that you're doing. And it's kind of feeds itself, right? It's a whole cycle of you do the work, you see the benefit, then you want to do the work, then you see the benefit, then you want to do the work. And when you were just working out, say, Orange Theory, and you're not seeing the benefit, you don't really have the incentive to go back in. And so, I'm a testament to exactly what you just said, which is you kind of get to a point in your life. And for me, it was as I was approaching 50, and I always lifted weights. And I was approaching 50, and I was never in a danger zone, but I, slightly elevated, levels of things. My heart was just slightly elevated. My blood pressure slightly elevated. My cholesterol slightly elevated. But right before, it wouldn't take much to have pushed me over, and I felt sluggish, like you just said, and I felt like just not really all there. And it was the first time, just like you, I hired a trainer, hired a nutritionist, and it opened my eyes to just something that completely changed my life. I spent 90 days. So this was 2020. It was 2020. It's actually New Year's Eve day of 2019. I went to the gym with the new trainer for the first time. Okay. And you work out? Yeah, I work out. You ever do, burnouts? Yeah, I can do whatever. Yeah. Bring it. I almost passed out of the gym. He's like, I'll show you. You're not in any shape, right? So I almost passed out. I'm like, oh my gosh, I had to sit down. But it really taught me a lesson. I'm like, shit, I'm not in shape. But I made a commitment. And he said, this is what you do. And that's the way I am, type A, right? Okay. And he gave me the plan. I ate exactly what he said to eat. I didn't even have a piece of popcorn or like nothing. You eat this, you eat it at this time. This is your weight, the measure of it. This is how much you eat. This is how you do it. And I followed it every single week for 90 days. I was completely transformed. Mm-hmm. It was an unbelievable change. And that's when I realized that food doesn't have to be something that you fall in love with. It can just be fuel for your body.
Everyone is 90 days away from completely changing their lives.
Totally.
Everybody is 90 days away from completely changing their lives. And if all anybody did was go try to get a six-pack, their life would completely change. Just through lifting weights and going through what you just described, lifting weights, eating right, and sticking to the plan, in 90 days, your life will completely change in all areas. It starts with the fitness, and I really do believe it's with lifting weights specifically, not just doing other things. Now, get your baseline weightlifting down and then go do whatever competition or, like I'm going to get back into trail running. But my goal now, so I went down to that 7%, and then now I'm trying to get up. I'm trying to get big. I've never been big in my life. Yeah. I want my exterior to match how I feel about myself on the inside. I've always felt big and strong and wondered why I'm not big and strong, and so now I'm going to actually go try and do that and put on 5 to 7 pounds of lean every year.
You have to eat a lot more food.
I know. And it's whole foods, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not going to do steroids. I'm not going to do all that. The thing that I feel about TRT and testosterone replacement therapy is before you do it, go try to get a six-pack first.
Oh, yeah. So let me clarify this because I'm a strong proponent of being on TRT. I've been on it now for 5 years. But when I started, I didn't do it. That 90-day period, I didn't touch anything. And it was completely transformational for me. It was completely transformational. But I kind of peaked out like into that. Then it was about 6 months later, and I'm like, I'm not getting any gain. Like, there's nothing. Yeah. I'm working hard. Like, and when I'm saying working hard, I mean, the difference between going to the gym, working out, and like you do your 10 or 12 reps or 15 reps, whatever it is, but you probably could have done another 10. And no, when you get to that 12th or that 13th, like you can barely do it. Like, and then you do 2 more after you couldn't even do it, right?
Yeah, and half reps.
There's a big difference, but I wasn't seeing any benefit from that at all. Is because my testosterone was low and there was a lot of other things going on. They're out of my control. Like I couldn't control that. And so it made a big difference for me doing that at that time. It was low. I got, I go to a doctor. I get my blood tests every 3 months. It all gets measured. Hey, you may need this vitamin, add that. I'm on it. Like I'm not just ordering it online and having it shipped over and injecting myself.
Yeah.
So, but it's part of a health regimen along with everything else. But you're right. I would say the same thing. Try to do it on your own first. Get yourself to the point where you can't take it any further and then go get checked out. Because chances are the older you get, as a male, the older you get, the lower your testosterone levels are, and you're not going to get the same benefit. Doesn't matter how hard you work.
Yeah, most people are just looking for the quick fix. There's Botox, there's TRT. These things have been around forever, and there's new technologies, new stuff coming around all the time. Most people are looking for a quick fix, and I don't have anything against TRT or people taking it. I want people to go do the fundamentals and the simple things first, because that is what transforms your life. It transforms your body, it transforms your mind, and it transforms your life when you're not just doing the quick fix. And you'll see your bank account will get bigger, your relationships will get better, other relationships will disappear, the drama will be reduced out of your life, you'll have more self-confidence, you'll have more clarity. Things change. When go get a six-pack. Go get a six-pack.
You're right about that. The clarity and the mental acuity that you get from that is something that people don't talk about.
I know, but there's something that I'm glad we're talking about this, because there's something that happens, I think, around 30 years old for the average man. You get married, you have kids, you've been in your career for a decent amount of time, and that's it. You start collecting, maybe you start collecting cars. May you
Things.
You've got your man cave, you've got your cigars, you've got your whiskey, you've got your maybe you're making beer in the basement. All of these are unhealthy habits, by the way. But you stop living for yourself.
Yeah.
You stop living for yourself, and then you're adding on bad habits, unhealthy habits. You're not going to the gym, and you're using your family and your kids and your job as an excuse, and you're not prioritizing yourself. In your head, you might still think you look and feel like your college and mid-20s self. You do not. You absolutely do not. And take it from me, that's what happened, right?
Yep.
And I was drinking, I was vaping, I was eating late, I was like all of that stuff. And I wasn't moving. I was 10 hours at work. I was like having bad conversations. I would come home and just like eat a bunch of dinner, go to bed, and that was it. And then I was even doing these HIIT classes. I was on the treadmill. I thought I was doing something. My ankle hurts, my wrist hurts. Like, your ailments are because you're not taking care of yourself.
That's right.
Your diabetes is because you're not lifting weights.
Yeah.
Your low testosterone is because you're not lifting weights, right? And you guys can clip this up and you can say, Cassidy thinks you're fat and you have health conditions.
I think we could probably make that happen.
Yeah. But I'm serious. Like, the first thing everybody should do if they have any problems in their life, physical, mental, is like go start lifting weights on a regular basis. And
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. So
couldn't agree with you
all
more.
Right, yeah.
By the way, doesn't matter how much weight you lift, you can still tear a bicep. Freaky accident.
Yeah.
I wasn't even lifting weights when that happened.
Oh, I thought for sure you were.
No. It's really interesting because I've never torn anything before, and after when an injury happens, you research it, right? And now you, oh my gosh, it's so common. But it's mostly like a lot of it happens with people lifting weights, and they're extending their arms, doing curls, they're doing preacher curls, whatever.
Yeah, preachers.
And you see these on, even like if you're watching, you're scrolling on Instagram or TikTok, and you see it's like, oh man, the muscle floats up to the top of the arm.
Yeah, I can't watch those.
Yeah, it's tough to watch. It wasn't that for me. In fact, Micah today just saw the video, and I'm like, isn't that stupid?
There is video?
I caught myself on my cams. I was at the lake, and we were putting the boat away. It was a little out of sequence. Like, things weren't. My son had just got a jet ski, so he's cleaning up his jet ski. He normally cleans the inside of the boat, before we put it away. So I was in there. I was kind of cleaning things, and then, I went to go step out of the boat onto the dock. And normally, like when we're using the boat, whatever, you can just step out and boom, you're right on the dock. It's like right there. But I really wasn't thinking we had put the boat all the way up on the lift. So we have a lift that takes the boat out of the water, keeps it out of the water when we're not using it.
Yeah.
And so it sits much higher when it's all the way up on the lift. And I went to step out, and there was no ground.
Oh, because you're in the boat.
Because it was all the way up. I'm stepping out of the boat, thinking it was only like 2 feet down, but it was like 4.5 feet down.
Wow.
And so I'm falling, and I put my arm around the side of the boat to try and prevent myself from falling.
Oh.
And I just snapped. I hit the ground. I'm just laying on the ground. I go, I think I tore my bicep.
Oh,
and it was
man.
just so. But this is one of those things, and also it's like it's not just for people that are getting older. You see a lot of people in their late 20s and even early 30s that have this injury. So lifting weights doesn't prevent everything.
No.
But it probably would have been a lot worse if I hadn't.
100%.
So,
yeah, 100%.
And I'll heal quicker this way too.
Yeah, and I will tell you that my wife started the fitness journey first, and she was a huge inspiration for me starting mine, and she is completely transformed as a human. We say this, we say new human.
Yeah.
You're a new human because
Nice.
We are new human beings. Even though we're ourselves, we are our most authentic versions of ourselves. She is so freaking strong. Like, one of the things on my self-development journey that we talked about, the Rebirth, is how much I read now. And I study books, and I really take them to heart and try to implement whatever's in there. And one of them is Be Your Future Self Now.
Yeah.
All about basically becoming your future self right now, doing the things that your future self would do right now, and envisioning and manifesting. And even this is something that I take with me every single day when I'm making decisions that feel tough. I ask, what would future Cassidy do in this situation? And usually the answer is he would do it, right?
You actually stop yourself to ask that question.
100%.
That's awesome.
Multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Because if I've got this vision of myself, this 185 pounds lean podcast host with a bunch of real estate that's coaching and helping and mentoring people and creating this movement,
Yep.
what would Cassidy do? Would he not spend the money and go and do it himself? Or would he go hire the person? Would he go invest in himself? Would he hire his executive assistant? Would he invest in content? Would he keep going and keep going and keep going?
Yeah, I like it.
Because the thing that you don't realize about your future self is that it's already been done. It's already been built. It's already been created. The only thing that has to be done is you have to go do the things that person did, the future version of you did.
To get where they're at.
That's right. So when you ask, what would they do? That means you're doing the things that they did to get to that point.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And so when I thought about my future self, and even with my wife, one of the images that we have is even just being able to lift your luggage up into the luggage bin on the airplane, right? How many old people do you see that just cannot even?
Yep.
Yeah. And like, we were like, okay, we can't be that way.
Yeah.
Like, and so that was one of the motivators, and just what happened in the last 6 to 7 months from just lifting weights completely transformed my wife's life, completely transformed our relationship, everything.
Yeah, well, I'll probably echo that with the relationship thing, because of you guys being aligned and both doing it together. That strengthens your relationship tremendously and creates longevity there, because, do you have kids?
No, we have our nephews are living with us right now.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So, a lot of people though, they get married, they begin to have kids, and then it's a logistics game. Like, who's taking them up, who's picking, who's doing this, who's doing that, and you just become like roommates that are handling a logistics company, and you stop doing the things that helped you to fall in love to begin with, that you both enjoy, and so you drift further and further apart. Kids grow up, they move out of the house, you no longer have anything in common. Boom, divorce. Right?
Yeah.
And so if you keep doing those things and you keep finding those things, like you guys have now found, lifting weights and staying healthy are, part of what you both enjoy in life, and it feeds your soul and it feeds your relationship and all those things, the chances of having a long, fruitful marriage are greatly appreciated. My wife and I, she works out every day. She works twice a day sometimes.
Yeah. But she's got to get away from you, bro.
I was at home last week with this and she's like, "When are you going back to the office?" That's the truth. But yeah, she's so when we go away, we don't miss. Like, we'll go away on vacation and we'll have tons of fun. We'll do tons of things, but we wake up in the morning, we work out, we go to the gym. Where's the gym? Is it in the hotel? Is it somewhere else? And we go. It's just part of our life. It's our lifestyle.
We had someone make a comment to us, because whenever we travel, we go to whatever the local gym is. Usually not in the hotel, because they don't have all the equipment usually.
A lot of them don't.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And so we had someone comment like, "Oh, I never thought to go to a gym that's not at the hotel." I'm like, well, when you have actual fitness goals and you have standards, you need to go to a place that can meet those standards, and that's like really what changes.
Yeah, and come on, it's easy. Go get a day pass. What is okay? Let's talk about that for a moment. Do you have a story of the most interesting gym you went to and trained at when you were traveling?
I'd say if you're considering joining the AmeriFund team, it's a really good idea.
We as processors at AmeriFund Home Loans support the loan officers in every aspect of the loan once it comes into processing, because we want them out there marketing themselves and originating more loans and supporting more borrowers.
Competitive commission plans are a given, and powerful technology is expected, but what truly sets us apart is our culture. We've built a solid support system for our loan officers. If you're interested in joining the AmeriFund team, go to amerifund.com/careers.
Yeah. I mean, there's the one in Costa Rica that was literally like an alley with weights. Nothing interesting happened other than it was just like so humid and so hot. Yep. The mirrors were all cracked. Like, I couldn't tell if the weights were in kilograms or pounds. There was that. I think the most interesting thing to me actually is not like how crazy or run down some of these gyms were. The amount of women that are out there that are strong. The amount of women that are outlifting the men in these gyms all over the world, because the last 7 or 8 months we've traveled all over the world, like a lot of places, and all over the US. There are so many women, and they look like the influencers that you see on TikTok and Instagram. They're wearing the shorts or the the thing. They got this. They got the headphones on. They are squatting insane amounts of weight. They're doing Bulgarian split squats. They're not just on the elliptical, like the 2000s. Like you said, the lifting culture from the 80s and 90s is back. The women that are lifting weights are so freaking strong and dialed. Like, I want to go talk to them and get advice from them to go help me. Like, that's how it is,
Yeah, they're definitely. I've noticed that too.
Yeah.
But there's some really, like you said, there's some pretty dingy and dirty gyms out there. My brother lives in Nicaragua, and San Juan del Sur, and there were, I think, 3 or 4 gyms there, but they're very dirty and run down. But still, you know what? We still went. So my wife and I still went to the gym, even though they were awkward machines. They didn't feel right. They were all like, they're sort. The most interesting gym I've ever been to was in Key West. In Key West, so you talk about the humidity and all that. Of course, you got that like to the nines.
Yeah.
But this gym was open. It was open. Like, I don't know that they ever shut the doors, and it was really old school. Like, all the equipment that I grew up working out with in the 70s and 80s there was like a time lapse. They were there.
Yep.
And everything was so dirty.
Yep.
You grab the bar and your hand is black.
Yep.
If you kneel down, put your knee on the mat, it turns black. But my son and I, we worked out there on vacation. This is about probably 6 years ago. And it was one of the best workouts we ever had. We didn't wear shirts in the gym.
That's right.
You didn't wear shirts. They gave you a towel. It was just down and dirty.
Yep.
And we had a great workout there. But yeah, that is something that you got to make part of your lifestyle. And when you do, it's just second nature to you.
Make it a habit, not a question of whether you're going to go.
That's right.
So that's something that I post on my Instagram all the time, is make it a habit, not a question. The full thing is make it a habit, not a question of whether you're going to do it today.
Yeah. Do you go to the same place regularly?
Yeah, when we're in Kirkland, Washington, and we just changed gyms because there's one that we can like walk to now. And my wife was going to a separate one. I was going to a different one. Now we're going to the same one.
Okay.
And so we can spend a little bit more time together.
And is this one of those gyms, just to talk about kind of the current gym lifestyle, where the kids group around the machines and they just stand there and talk and you can't get to them, or somebody sits on their phone and they take like 10 minutes between sets and then they do a quick workout and then they're sitting there, and so you can't get to, like, that just drives me absolutely nuts about gym culture today.
Yeah, no, this one is a bodybuilder gym.
Okay.
And it's all the old Cybex equipment. It's really good stuff. They just put in some red turf. They make improvements all the time. And actually, when I travel, those are the ones that we go find. The one in Mexico City was wild. The one in Mexico City was wild. So many people. You literally like couldn't step away from a machine. It would get stolen. You would be doing like, let's say you're doing like leg extensions. There was a line and they're staring at you while you're doing your leg extensions. You couldn't go anywhere in that. That one was wild. That one just popped in my head. But
that's a good idea.
No,
just stand in line.
Yeah,
I like that idea.
How do you have a good workout doing that though? And then and you're not getting enough rest because you're just like trying to move on to the next thing. My all-time favorite gym is Lift ATX in Austin, Texas. It is an old warehouse bodybuilder gym. You can do shirts off, which I never used to do, but now I love doing it in the right environment because that's just how I feel now.
Yeah.
And they got a bunch of outdoor equipment, a bunch of old Cybex too. And I know that Dr. Mike and Chris Williamson also work out there occasionally. But Lift ATX in East Austin is it's like a super cool gym.
I love the recommendation.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, let's kind of go back to real estate and business for now, because you've kind of, what I think you've described as kind of just the beginning, or phase 1, right? That you've entered. What does phase 2 look like for you?
Of investing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So phase 2 is now going to be. It's funny, as I sat down in this chair, I sort of anticipated this question. I was like, what is phase 2? Well, I want to double my equity.
Okay.
I want to double my equity. So
what's your equity today?
What
do you estimate?
Yeah, about $6 million.
Okay.
In everything. And so my whole mind is like, what can I go do with that equity? right? The cash flow is fine, but can I go double it? So I'm like, number one, I'm working on the podcast, and we can talk about that because I want, it's like a passion project, and just want to connect with people and share. But the other thing is like, okay, where can I go maximize the value of my equity without killing myself again? And so there's a few strategies that I'm looking at. Number one is going to be boutique hotels, right? That's a big part. It's going to have to be the right asset, the right team, right? Like what are we investing in terms of an asset? And then the ADU play for me is actually the best real estate investing strategy right now.
Yeah.
So the best real estate investing strategy right now is ADUs in California and Washington State, because the regulations allow for a different type of property or different type of parcel than any other state. It's not just like adding a garage apartment and you can rent it out for cash flow. The difference with Washington and California and ADUs is they allow you to split the parcel. It's called condoizing.
Yes.
So now you can build a main home with an attached apartment, essentially attached ADU that can be up to about 1,200 square feet, and a detached 1,200 square foot, which could be a 3-2. And each of them are on different parcels, meaning they're all appraised at different values. So the main home is appraised, the attached ADU is appraised, and the detached. So in Washington State, in Kirkland, because Kirkland's one of the cities that do this, you can build for, let's say, 400 square foot and sell for 1,000, right? And so if you can do that 3 times, whereas before, if you just built these attached or detached, the value of the property wouldn't go up as much.
Right.
You can
It's
rent
fractional.
It's fractional.
The value of the rent and the cash flow goes up.
Yes,
But the value.
That's right. So if you can build these ADUs for 400 and sell them for 750, you have 350 in equity, and you can likely rent them out for 3 to 4,500 depending on the configuration of the neighborhood. But you're now owning 3 single-family homes on one lot with cash flowing on each of them, and you've got basically $1.2 million in equity or more.
Yeah. So I'm not familiar with the Washington market, but I'm very familiar with California because I'm adding ADUs to my properties.
Yeah.
We did a whole segment on this, and we had France from ADU Wonders on here, who is referred by Rich. But what I do know about the California market is not only can you do as you just described, but you can also do a legal lot split, and you can sell them separately.
Yeah, well, you can sell these separately in Washington.
Oh, same in Washington.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It would be like a townhome that you're selling, though, because there's going to be like an HOA.
Yeah,
but it's
correct. Because you've got shared utilities.
Yeah.
That's really what you've got.
But in California, you have the SB9 law, which allows for any single family lot to be split, and there's different conditions, but they allow different setbacks. There's no approval from the cities. It's a really owner friendly law.
Yes. And who knows how long this will be. So taking advantage of that for any single family properties that you have right now is really, really good. I've got one coming out of permits here in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah. The other thing that you can do with these is you don't just have to put a single family home on them. You can put, like, I believe you can put a duplex or triplex or up to a fourplex on.
Sometimes 6.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
or 8.
So this is the thing with real estate investing. And I always advise against people that are real estate investors with like going too wide, and they own long-term and short-term and this and that, and they're a realtor and they're doing too much, right? But what you want to do as a real estate investor is you need to know when to go deep and then when to start exploring another opportunity. And right now, the biggest problem to solve in real estate is housing.
Yeah.
And so when states like California and Washington are changing laws to support real estate investors to build and develop, and you can make more money that way by solving a bigger problem, that's when it's a good time to start saying, okay, I'm going to maybe go try out this different type of real estate investing, especially if it fits into your existing strategy in a way and you're not standing up a whole new business, right? So for us, we're always value add. And that means we know how to develop, we know how to renovate, we know how to do that stuff. You might not go build an ADU, a 3-building lot as your first investment ever. But if you want to go do that, that's a really good strategy. just go get help, go get in a community, go like learn from the best, because it's more complicated than just buying a duplex and putting renters in it.
Yeah. When you're doing ground up construction like that, it does get a little complex. But look, you can hire a professional for most of that stuff. You're just the decision maker, and still makes sense. It still pencils out.
That's right.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's a really good strategy.
Yeah, the other two strategies that I still love are residential assisted living and storage. Residential assisted living, I think, is going to be the next big boom.
Why?
All the boomers are retiring. They haven't retired yet. Sorry. All the boomers are going to need places to live. They haven't even all retired yet, but they're starting to need assisted living. They're starting to age out, but you have a few options. You either have retirement homes, which are extremely cost prohibitive, right? But now you can go buy a house that is zoned for residential assisted living, and many homes already are in a lot of states and a lot of cities, and I'm sure that there will be more support moving forward to do this. But you can take, a 5-bedroom home, or I don't even know, larger homes are probably better, but you can now place people that need assisted living in these homes, and you're getting rent that's double what you would get as like a long-term renter.
Or more than double.
Or more than double. Now, there's permits and, there's all that stuff. So
there's also the business side of it. So you really have to be up for that part of it, the business side and the regulations around that and so forth. And, you have to change the property. You got to have ramps and all these other things.
Yes.
So there's complexities to it. It's a different business.
But that's the thing with real estate is if you're solving a bigger problem, you're going to get rewarded for it more, right? And there's a lot of people that would rather live in a house than go to one of the big complexes,
100%.
right? And they can stay close to their family in a neighborhood nearby, right? So, but I think if you're willing to do the work on those will pay off tremendously, right? And then again, if you can collect a portfolio of those, now you can maybe sell it at a cap rate if that's something that you want to go do, or you hire an operator, or you become an operator. So I think residential assisted living, like if I were to be like a passive investor, I think residential assisted living probably has the most upside.
Okay.
Either like a really great hotel or storage deal, or a residential assisted living deal.
So talk about storage, because storage is always intriguing. It's not an easy market to find available properties and or to build, right? It's finding the right places that do approve it and then going through that whole process. So have you gotten into storage yet?
No, but here's why I like it. I think since the 70s, the amount of space that we live in as individuals has decreased every single year. So the amount of square footage that we as human beings live in has decreased, and the average space has gone down since then. The amount of stuff that we own is about the same, right? So
or more,
exactly. And so our consumption and our need to keep things and have things, and I know some people are minimalist and getting rid of stuff, but in general, what's happening is there's a lot of people that are moving into brand new high-rise, those types of units, less space, less storage. They need storage units, right? And so I think there's a higher demand. You're not really dealing with tenants or renters. So in California, that's a huge bonus that you're not dealing with tenants and renters. And if you're a tenant or renter out there, just know that all I'm saying is the laws are in your favor.
That's right.
And it really does prevent people from wanting to invest and buy property and be landlords in California. So as real estate investors in California, storage units are excellent. Wherever there's high cost of living, basically high cost of living density, I think storage units can be a huge problem solver. The other thing with storage units, again, no renters, there is a huge upside in making improvements. People want RV storage, boat storage, they want high security, right? If you can provide those amenities, maybe they need air conditioned units, right? You can do that. The other thing is being able to build, it's usually commercially zoned. So you can build up, you might be able to with storage, it's harder to build up, but there are storage facilities where you got elevators, you got smaller units, so you can build up or potentially be able to expand. You can implement online scheduling or online sales, right? A lot of storage places don't have that stuff, right? So if you can go find an old place and you can split some units, do a little bit of, reno, I think the barrier to entry into storage is a lot lower, but it's a commercial asset. But again, deal flow. You need to go find it.
Yeah.
And it needs to be a good deal. And,
I belong to a group that does storage, and I'm seeing deals all the time in very rural areas. Again, not knowing much about that, other than I know it can be very lucrative. And you're right, you don't have the tenant laws to deal with, and somebody stops making payment. That's how the show Storage Wars came around. Like, you lock it up. Okay, now you have an auction. You auction it off.
You have all the leverage.
You have everything.
Yeah.
So it's a great business, but the actual, finding of the properties and acquiring those to somebody that's not already doing it seems like a really tall lift. Are you a tech investor looking to shape the future of real estate? HomePie is the #1 for sale by owner marketplace, and we are revolutionizing the way homes are bought and sold. I'd love to hear from you. Just email invest@homepie.com and let's chat. Now back to the show.
I think anytime you go into commercial or something that's a little bit more complex, like the residential assisted living, I think that's when you start hiring mentors. You start getting, you start really doing it. Like I guess whatever level you're at, if you're trying to get to the next level, just get a coach.
Somebody that's doing it.
I've hired so many coaches. I've spent over $100,000 in coaching and mentorship in the last 2 years, and that's me reinvesting in myself. And guess what? I'm a completely different person. I know way more than I did before. I have more clarity, and I have more confidence, and I have a bigger network.
Yep.
Why would you not spend that money?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just going to be in a hole by yourself, wondering what went wrong, and you're no further along. You're going to learn the lessons, but paying for other people's knowledge is going to accelerate your learning so much faster. And I'm in a spot right now where like my YouTube's going, but I can tell that I don't quite know the right next step. I'm going to go pay.
Yep.
Why would I not just go pay someone that's an expert to at least give me the next best thing to go try, right?
You're spot on. Look, if you can accelerate the knowledge curve and pay somebody for knowledge, you're way better off than trying to learn over the years it would take you to acquire that same knowledge.
Yeah,
totally
but
agree with you.
So in general of real estate, there's so many people out there. Once you learn it, it's pretty straightforward. It comes down to finding the right deals, partnering with the right people. Are you raising money? Is it debt? Is it equity? And like, what's your exit strategy?
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do to the property, right?
Yeah.
The thing that I love about commercial real estate is the scale. So with single family homes, the cost of things is just so high comparative to usually the number of units, or right. If you're doing storage and you go paint the whole building and you've got 100 storage units, like that cost spreads so evenly.
right.
Yeah, right. Like, the cost is so minimal compared to the total amount of units that you have.
You're spot on. I own commercial property as well, and the ability to manage commercial property over residential is far easier. And you get good businesses in there; they stay long term. People will make their payments for their rent on their businesses before they make their home payment.
Yeah,
that's just the way, because that's their livelihood.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. That's a good point.
It's true.
Yeah, just like everyone on my team gets paid before I do.
Yeah,
like that's the way that it works.
Yeah. So let's talk about your podcast, because you launched what date?
Oh gosh, February 2nd, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been 4 months.
Yeah.
Ish, and you've had some really big names on there already. And what I've noticed is you got this set, but it's mobile, right? It looks similar every time. So I want you to talk about that. First, talk about the journey to actually starting it. What does it take to start a podcast?
Oh, it takes you being so honest with yourself that that's what you want to do. And that's part of the rebirth. Was I had to say, okay, yes, I love real estate. I love everything I've done up to this point. But the little voice inside me is saying, you want to go do this podcast. And you want to do it. You want to freaking do it. It's not just like a sales funnel into, whatever. It's like you want to go connect. You want to go meet. This whole thing with the podcast is me, sharing information with people. It's me going and trying to meet the best people in the world and go have fun and go expand my network. And it's been one of the best things that I've ever done. So the first episode I ever recorded was a solo episode. So I do guests and I do solos. I had all the equipment. I bought all the cameras. I bought all the lenses. I spent about close to 10 grand on everything, right?
That's about right.
And my wife was away for the weekend. She had helped me set up the initial little studio that we did in our house. And I could not freaking push record on that camera. I had so much self-doubt. I had so much rumination. So You're a 38-year-old white guy with a microphone. Why are you doing this? Who's going to listen to you? This is so stupid, right? And I agonized for 2 days. And it was like Sunday afternoon, finally, I pushed the button. I recorded my first solo episode. And then that next day on Monday, I recorded like 5 more episodes. And then I just started going hard. And so one thing about me is I like to accelerate my growth. And I truly believe that the only difference between me and any of the other top podcasters is that nobody knows who I am yet. And so I want to go meet and talk to as many people as I can. And I know that no one's going to come out to Seattle for me just yet. So I need to go to them. And so I bought this big old suitcase and I bought all the equipment that I needed and I figured out a way to pack it all up. And I carry this thing I call Big Blue. He rolls around with me. I do check him. I don't check the cameras or the lenses. I bring those with me.
Okay.
Because those are sensitive and those are important. But I pack everything else in Big Blue, and I basically go do these big media tours. And so this week was in Thousand Oaks. I'm on 4 podcasts while I'm in Thousand Oaks. I recorded with Mikey Taylor, who a lot of people know, pro skateboarder, real estate investor, exited out of St. Archer Brewery. And so what I'll do is I'll go to these cities for like a week, and I'll have people come to me, or I'll rent studios and set up my equipment and record podcasts. And I set it all up. My goal is to have a really amazing environment too. So like we rented this house in Thousand Oaks. It's an Eichler. It's a really nice mid-century modern.
Yep.
And actually it was Mikey's old neighborhood.
Okay.
And he knew the owners of the house.
Huh.
Which is like, it's like the universe kind of sending signs. But every time I'm doing this, I'm trying to get better. The other thing I'm trying to do with the mobile setup is I want to put the guests in an environment where they're going to open up more. So I just had Thatch Wen on. He's a huge real estate investor in Seattle, incredible person. And I knew that his buddy owned this gorgeous Vietnamese restaurant in just outside of Seattle. So I messaged him. I said, hey, can we do it?
How did you know that?
I did my research. I go and I find out everything I possibly can about these people to see if I can work something, right? You're not just like hoping and praying that something happens. You go figure things out and you connect the dots and you see who they're friends with and what could work, and you try to take a bigger swing. That's what I'm trying to do. So like me doing this mobile podcast, I'm traveling for a week at a time. I'm going out, I'm alone, or it's me and my wife. I'm setting everything up.
And just so people know, like, this is costing you money. You're not making any money doing this.
No, this is me looking at myself in the mirror and saying, I'm investing in my future. In some way, at some point, this will pay off. But like this week, I spent $5,000 on everything.
Yeah.
Technically for one interview for Mikey, right? Which he's worth it. But I've spent $5,000 at other places. So I'm spending a lot of money on all this stuff. And this is the thing especially with real estate investors. We want a return. We want to look at a calculator, at a spreadsheet, and generally know what we're going to make, right? And then we'll invest in the deal. When you do a startup, when you start making content, start a podcast, you have to front the money. You have to invest the money without a real clear path to how you're going to make money. And so there's different ways that will happen at some point. But right now, my whole goal is to go connect with people, and I'm going to go do it this way for probably a year at least.
Okay.
To go get the biggest names, have the best interviews, focus on the YouTube content, and basically getting my name out there.
So let me finish painting that picture, because I want to really kind of understand this, because I think it is unique what you're doing and kind of bringing along Big Blue with all your equipment and all that, because I have not done that, right? Everything I've done is here in the studio. I have to hope that I can get people here. I've done a decent job of that, but there certainly are people I would love to have on my podcast that they're not traveling here. And I go, let me know when you're in town. Like, who knows when they will be. So you've got your cameras. You have lighting.
Yep.
You have some sort of, how are you doing the sound? You bring your microphones?
Yeah, and I've for this one, I just brought the DJI magnet
the lapels.
Because those do well when you do some processing on AI. Those do pretty well.
Okay.
But otherwise, I do bring the big Shure mics. One of the reasons I'm not using the big mics anymore, or as much, is because I think with some of the clips, people see the mics and a podcast studio, and they just immediately scroll.
Maybe there's some truth to that.
Yes, and I don't know. So I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, with Mikey, it looks, honestly, I'm really proud of it. The way it looks like a Netflix documentary. The type of content I'm trying to create, one, the conversation is incredible. Two, I want you to look at it and be like, this looks insane. And you don't know why it looks so great, but it looks like it's a Netflix documentary.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Right on.
Yeah.
And then what else do you bring? And are you doing all the setup yourself?
Pretty much. And then if my wife's there, she'll help me set up. But really, I'm the expert on the tech. And then my executive assistant came with me on this time. And so she's learning all that stuff. The goal, really, here's the goal. I learned all this from Dan Martell. This is what Dan does. He goes and he does these media tours. He does podcasts. He hires a driver. He has his assistant, and he has his content director. My goal, same thing. I want my assistant, my content director, who is, I don't have one yet, me, and I want a driver. Because right now I'm driving, I'm setting everything up, I'm answering emails. Now I've got my assistant who's taking care of all that stuff. And I want to focus on just making sure that I knock the interview out of the park, and I'm a great host, and they have a great time, and we end up with amazing content.
Well, I will say that I've watched a couple of them, and you are a great host, and you're a natural at it. The interesting part about you doing all of that is that somebody watching would not be able to tell that you've done all that setup. It does look pro. Who's doing the editing?
Yeah, great question. I found a team in India.
Okay.
So I got lucky, but we tested a lot of people. If you go back and watch my first few episodes, you'll see that there's different editors. Yeah, for all of them. And then we found Pseudo. And Pseudo's the man over in India. And he's got his team, and he found some thumbnail people for me. He's sort of my content director because he's definitely a level above. And so he was the one that introduced the trailers that we do ahead of the episode. So like the little sizzle type thing. He found the short form editors that are creating all of the short form content. They're posting on TikTok on my behalf. So like, if you go on my TikTok, it's really just a testing ground.
Sure.
And they're pumping a bunch of content out there, and we pick the best one and we post that on Instagram. Ultimately, I need someone else to kind of also be in Seattle with me. So I'm doing more in-person content, right? Like the goal is to have like, basically I am a media team. I am a media company.
Right. And you'll start parsing out some of those jobs. So I was fortunate because when I started, I too went all in, right? And I'm like, okay, I already had I had a podcast going, and I had a guy who worked for my mortgage company who was doing kind of the filming and all that, but it was virtual. And when I decided to do that, I just started to interview people, and that's how I met Micah. And so Micah's, he's my Sam, right?
Yes, exactly.
And so Micah can do all that stuff. Now, ultimately, it would be great if he didn't have to do all of that and could concentrate on the things that he really does well and not all those things. We did have a second person at some point in time, but it is a process. We've been doing this now for a year, right? We just passed a year. So it's been a year.
Congratulations, dude.
Yeah.
You obviously turned pro. Like you turned pro.
But it doesn't happen overnight. And when people see this, just understand, like, I'm not making money doing this. Now, ultimately, could it? And it lead to relationships and lead to things that you develop business. Of course, man, that would be absolutely amazing. And it probably already has. And people, because I'll hear from people, they'll be like, oh yeah, I watch your podcast all the time. Or I listen to it. Like people, you do? Like the lady used to clean my spa at one of my houses. She said, oh, I listen to your podcast all the time while I'm working in the, she has like a farm. And I'm like, okay. So, people are hearing it and seeing it, more than you think. And you can't really, that's the interesting thing about podcasts. You don't have the true metrics, right? You do get something that talks about the downloads, but it's not totally accurate. And there's not really like true rankings. You're kind of flying blind.
You don't really know who your audience is.
You really don't.
Yeah. And that's part of the self-development work though, is like, you're just putting it out there and trusting that it's going to hit the right people. And you have to trust that what you're doing matters.
And just keep having interesting people and interesting conversations. So when we're talking, I'm genuinely interested in the things that you're saying. If I'm interested, then somebody else has got to be interested too. That's the way I think about it.
Yeah. I think a lot of going through this whole thing and creating content, it's all really like a self-worth issue with people that haven't done it yet, because they don't believe that they have any value to offer, or they believe that there's already other people out there doing it. Like I could say, oh, well, there's already the Dan Martells and the Alex Hermosis and the Stephen Bartlett's and the Chris Williams, and I can say, well, why would anyone listen to my podcast, and why would I even try? And believe me, my mind has said that to me a lot. Why would you even try to do this? Why are you spending this much money? Why are you doing this? And I feel like I have something to contribute, and I've seen the impact that sharing your perspective and bringing people into your world has on other people.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I pulled a couple of quotes, before we started here, because I think it really ties in nicely and kind of, wraps this with a bow. But, Steve Jobs said, your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life, right? And I think that really plays into what you just said. Get out of your own head. If this is something you want to do, like literally just do it. It took you 2 days to turn the cameras on, right?
Yeah.
Did things change in those 2 days? Nothing changed. You just finally made a decision, okay, let's just do it. And if you watch his podcast, by the way, he is really, really good. So, I encourage you to go watch that. It's for your own good, by the way.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And let me just say on that quote, I think, and there's an Alex Hormozi clip out there where he's like, if you didn't have any other piece of content, what's the one thing that you would tell people? He's like, figure out what you want to do and just do it until it becomes absolutely unreasonable that you will not become successful.
Yeah.
And it's usually because we're in our own heads and we're afraid of what other people will think. And if you just can figure out how to stop caring about what other people think about you, you will be able to do anything you've ever wanted to do.
That's the key to almost everything in life. It's the key to meeting the right girl. It's the key to having the right business partner. It's the key to asking the right investor. Just get out of your own way. What's the worst thing that could happen?
Yep.
They say no.
All of your dreams are on the other side of the thing that you fear the most. And usually the thing that you fear the most is judgment from others.
And rejection.
And it's all tied up in that same thing.
That's
it's basically what other people think about you or how will they talk about you. And the sooner that you can not care, and honestly, like, forget how you feel about him from the politics, but like, if you look at Trump, he's a great example of like, you can literally do whatever you want despite how 50% of the world or 50% of the country thinks or feels about you and the things that they say about you, right? Take those lessons and apply them to your own life of like, I can go be exactly who I want to go be and I will be successful.
Yeah, and to take that just a step further, you're never going to be somebody that everybody likes. You cannot, no matter what you do, 50% of people are not going to like you, and 50% of people, if you're lucky, 50% of people will like you.
Yeah.
That's a good ratio. It's just the way it is. We all think differently. We have different perspectives. We have different walks of life that we came from. We've been indoctrinated in different ideas and different theories and different perspectives on life. And so, we can align on say 5 out of 8 different things, and then on the next 2 be completely in different pages. Everybody's unique and individual. I'm going to give you one more quote.
Yeah.
Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
You're right.
That's Henry Ford.
You know what's funny? I read that on a classroom wall in like 2nd grade.
And it's resonated with you your whole life.
My whole life.
Yeah.
Those stupid little posters all over the schools?
Yep.
I remember reading that one in like 2nd grade and knowing what it meant at that time. I remember knowing like, something? Oh yeah, that is true. And it stuck with me.
Yeah.
It's everything comes down to mindset, and you can define mindset a bunch of different ways. Your ability to take massive action in the direction of what you want to go do is the only differentiator between anyone that's ever been successful and where you're at right now.
Oh, you're spot on.
But it comes down to you believing that you can do it, or whether you believe it or not, still pushing forward and going and doing it. But you have to be so assured that this is what you want to do, because the more that you have a purpose and a desire and a why behind everything that you do, the more you're going to be able to go take massive action. If you don't love what you do, or if you don't love the outcome, you either have to figure out something new, or you have to figure out why you don't like it, and then go just take massive action. Go talk to people, go call people, get help. Like, pick up the phone and text somebody and call somebody and get the person on your podcast, ask about investing, go door knock, go get 100 rejections. Like, if you knew, Brad, that you could guarantee that you were going to go make $1 million on this podcast, but all you had to do was go get 1,000 guests on your show, how quickly would you go get 1,000 guests on your show?
Of course, you would
right?
just do it, right?
Yeah, but we don't think there's a guarantee. There is a guarantee. We just don't know what the actual outcome is going to be.
And don't worry about the outcome. Set the goal based on the activity, not the outcome.
And then the people that you meet along the way, the things that happen along the way, that is what will end up really showing itself to you. You can't connect the dots looking forwards. You can only connect them looking backwards.
Don't give up too soon. You might be 3 feet from gold.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's true.
Think and grow rich.
Yeah. And usually, I know you're trying to end the podcast here, but this is like,
no,
this
keep
is great
going.
stuff.
Keep
This is
going.
stuff that I'm so passionate about.
Yeah, do it.
Usually, the universe tests you the most right before a breakthrough.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's say, not even in business, let's say you've had trouble being single or staying monogamous, and, you know, you're like really feeling right on the edge of a breakthrough, and then like that ex-girlfriend shows up, or you're with a girl and she shows, like, the universe is going to present challenge after challenge after challenge the most when you're right about to have a breakthrough.
It's so funny that you say that. You know, we all go through seasons of our lives, okay? And I've had more seasons than you. If I look back at my whole life, and so I'm turning 57 next month.
You look great. You look great, dude.
Thank you.
I hope I look as good as you at 57, yeah.
Are you hitting on me?
Yeah, sure.
Just want to clarify.
I like to give people their props.
I
like
appreciate
I like
that.
to give people their props.
So, you know, I've got 3 adult kids. I'm super proud of them. They're all successful in their own right, and like, you know, we've just done the right things. My wife and I love my wife, all those things. And I look back across my life and I think about, and business owners, this will resonate with business owners, because in business, you know, to some extent, you know, I wish I was born, you know, later, because then I would have just got involved online and not had all the stresses that real business brings you, right? Because the lawsuits and the, you know, all the things that you have to go through, and the exams and the audits and all these things that are so stressful in life, that don't bring you that joy that you said, hey, just do the things that are joyful. But we go through seasons. And if you could take yourself out of each of those seasons when they're happening and just have the perspective, look back over your entire life and go, okay, am I happy with what I've done? And if the answer is no, then you make some dramatic changes, and you start today and you don't stop, okay? But if the answer is yes, then stop beating yourself up. And so it's really funny, because I'm in one of those periods right now where things have changed dramatically the last, say, 120 days, you know, 4 or 5 months. Lots of things just beat up in business, just lots going on, and you know, companies shrinking, and the mortgage business has been tough for years, and just lots of things that any mortal person would have just given up. But I look at it and I go, and not that I'm immortal, but yeah. I look at it and I go, you know what? This is a perspective. I've grown to kind of adapt in my life to overcome these things. I look at it and I go, okay, that's just one more challenge. Like, okay, that's fine. It's another one. I got this. Okay, it's another challenge. I'll be out of this in 3 or 4 months. And I just take it that way. And I'm like, okay, I'll work through it. I think about the future. I picture my future self, like you said. I picture the future, like, okay, where am I going to be in 6 months? Okay, that's where I need to be. That's what I'm going to focus on. And then you refocus your energy. And what you'll do is you'll look back and see the accomplishments that you made in spite of those bad seasons, the dark seasons. You're going to have them. Everybody has them. You know, you could probably you're probably thinking about some of that you've had right now.
Yeah.
And so if you're listening to this and you're going through that, focus on your future. Just focus on what will it look like in 3 months. Will these same concerns that I'm dealing with, I'm losing sleep over today, will they be here a year from now? And if not, then stop losing sleep over it. Stop.
Things don't happen to you, they happen for you. And the more that you can remember that and sit in that with presence and gratitude, despite the negative stuff going on around you, that's been a huge change for me.
Yeah.
In my transformation is the reduction of my anxiety. Like, I still have anxiety in some ways, but these open loops, these worrying, the anxiety, the planning, the forward thinking, taking myself out of the present, being a victim. But when you recognize that all of these things are happening for you, and that you don't just yet know why they're happening or what they're for, but like you said, you can connect the dots backwards You just may not be able to do that yet. But having gratitude for what is happening in the moment, I don't think I really experienced gratitude until the last year. Like truly experienced real gratitude. And I can't tell you the moment or exactly why, but it's all the work that I've been doing. And when you can truly be grateful for everything that's happening to you in the moment and focus on the present in each moment, if you feel your mind spinning out, or if you feel blaming or frustration, if you're starting to point fingers, come back to the present. Literally say in your mind something that you're grateful for. Literally say out loud something that you're grateful for. And
that's a super valuable skill set. And none of us are perfect at this. I don't care the level of success that you've had, where you're at in your life. None of us are perfect. What we can try to perfect is how quickly we get out of those thoughts, and developing those things, those exercises like you're talking about now to get you there, or relying on other people to help you. Like you might have somebody, it might be your wife, it might be somebody else. You're like, when you're in a bad way, that's the person you talk to. And then the effect that conversation has helps to change your attitude, and you just know that. And you maybe don't even recognize it consciously, but unconsciously, that's the phone call you make.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And so, that's a thing. Life can be really tough. It can be really rough. It could do things to you that, health related, family related, parents, kids, things happen, and they all happen because you can't control them. Can't control any of that. The only thing you can try to control is what's between your ears. And the more adept you get at doing that, the happier you're going to be. You don't have to live your life through somebody else's eyes. You don't have to live your life. You don't have to have that Porsche. You don't have to have the Ferrari, the Lamborghini. You don't have to have the house in the mountains and the jet plane. You don't have to have that to be happy. That's somebody else's projection. Now, if that's part of your goal and what you want to get to, great. Let that drive you. But it isn't necessary for you to be happy, and that's what you have to realize.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. And I think the last thing, I'm assuming we're wrapping up here, but
this is probably the longest one that we've had, which is great. But we're kind of ripping it at the end here. So let's give ourselves 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think there's a few things that I like to hit on, and I'll just kind of cut through them real quick because I think they're really important. The number one thing that people could do to start living a better life is to only focus on themselves. We have a tendency to want to focus on other people, look at other people, comment and complain, and we're all freaking armchair quarterbacks. We're all we're talking about the news, we're talking about what's going on. I challenge you to stop complaining and stop talking about anybody else. Literally, don't say a word about anybody else in your life, in your sphere, in your family. Don't complain about them. I don't care if it's nice. I don't care if it's negative. Do not talk about anybody else. Do not say anything about anybody else. Only focus on yourself and what you can control and the things that you enjoy doing and your habits. What I was doing is I was projecting my own desires onto other people and my own insecurities and inefficiencies onto other people. Mm-hmm. Have you ever been in your house and the towel is hung up weird and you're like, why did my wife do that? Why did my son do that?
Of course.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Stop that. That is adding to your anxiety. We don't have big enough dreams because we're doing those things. We have anxiety and we complain and we comment on other people because our dreams are not big enough and we're not acting on our dreams. And so that's one of the things that I leave with people.
I think that's profound.
It's true. I stopped caring about so much when my life got bigger.
Yeah.
As soon as my dreams and my life got bigger, so many other things disappeared. I stopped caring about so many things.
Yeah.
Food is fuel. When your dreams are massive, it's much easier for you to say food is fuel. When you've got a small life and all you do is go to your job and drink at night and go out with your friends on the weekend, and all you're doing is looking forward to the weekend so you can get drunk, that food matters so much more. That meal, going out to eat, matters so much more because you don't have anything bigger in your life.
Yeah.
Right?
It's so true. I'm smiling because, I've got a terrific set of friends. I really enjoy them and all of that. But they know me. I don't go out on a school night. I don't drink on a school night. If it's a work night, I'm going to the gym. I'm not going out to dinner. Going out to dinner is not important to me. When my wife and I travel, we don't plan around food. Everybody I know plans around, well, where are we going for dinner? Where are we going for breakfast? Where are we going for lunch?
That's it.
I don't care. When I'm hungry, I'll eat.
Yeah.
Again, it's fuel.
And if it brings you joy, if it truly brings you joy,
then great. And some people, look, they're chefs at heart, and they taste every little thing on a plate. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So here's the thing, though. What got you here will not get you there. If you have massive dreams, or if you have the desire to have massive dreams and goals and ambitions, everything that you did to get you to this point, the way you were, the way you acted, the decisions, the habits, the high drive, the high achieving, whatever it was that got you to this point, even if you're super successful in business, with each new level, there's a new devil. And that means that you have to completely change how you have done things to get to that next level and to accomplish that next thing. Practically speaking, what that looks like is your calendar needs to look 80% different than it does today. The things that you do today, 80% of it needs to go away in the next 6 months if you truly want to achieve the next thing. So my days used to look like going to work for corporate. My days used to look like being in the bookkeeping. My days used to look like doing guest messaging and all the little things. And what does the revenue look like this month on this property? And then now it's like, give me a quarterly report, right? To go be a podcaster, guess what I'm doing every day? I'm reviewing video, I'm getting bigger guests, I'm reaching out, I'm studying, and I'm recording content.
Yeah.
My calendar looks 80% different than it did 6 months ago, and it will look 80% different 6 months from now. What got you here will not get you there. Whatever it is that you want to do, you have to completely change everything that you do.
You're spewing some gold here. This is good. This is good. Look, I feel like we could go on for a while, but we did jam pack a lot of really good stuff in the last 20 minutes here, and I'm glad we did. So we're gonna cut it off there, Cassidy.
Maybe we
can always do
maybe we can cut out some of the gym stuff. We talked about the gym quite a bit. But
we did, but hey, there's a lot of interest in that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, it's a gym society today. But look, maybe we'll do it again.
Yeah.
So, guys, once again, thank you for joining us on The Blueprint. If you like what you saw, if you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, follow, share. All these things really help, and I appreciate you. Everybody that's reached out to me and said they've heard the podcast or they listened to it, they watched it, something I said, something a guest said helped them. That really does feed me, and it helps me to bring on more guests. So, give me your feedback. I love hearing from you, and we'll see you next time on The Blueprint. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, dude. Love it.